Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Google Wallet live stream. And today we're live from a different place, different from the usual place, at least, because I'm streaming from San Francisco, California. So this week I'm traveling. We have an in-person meeting with all of the wallet team. So I'm glad to be here and even happier to be here in San Francisco, streaming live to you, talking about Google Wallet features. And well, as just mentioned, today I'm in San Francisco, California, and I'd love to hear where are you watching us from today. So hopefully you're live, but just in case you're not, you're watching the recording. Well, thanks for joining us. And please post in the chat from where are you watching us from. And remember, we always have some time for questions in the end. So if you have any questions about Google Wallet, about the features that I'm explaining, please post them in the chat as well, because I'm taking a look at it. And we'll be able to answer the questions in the end. Cool. And now, well, let's start this conversation with the documentation. So if you could see my screen here, as you always know, the canonical source of information for everything about Google Wallet is the Google Wallet developer website. So if you go here to developers.google.com/wallet, you see all sorts of information regarding the features of Google Wallet. And of course, if you like, and if you're watching us here in the stream, if you want to know all the content we already published and all the upcoming live streams that we have, you can go to the events tab. I'm going to increase my font size here because it makes it easier for you. You can go to events, and you see, yes, this is today's live stream, tracking Google Wallet past usage with API callbacks. And we also have the past events here that we already did, like signing jobs with the Google Cloud API, level up your Google Wallet integration with some past sharing best practices. So we have a lot of stuff going on. And please stay tuned, because in another 2 weeks, we're going to have another very interesting live stream. I've got some special guests planned for this year. So stay tuned. We're going to have some great content. And of course, in the month of May, we have Google I/O. We're preparing an amazing session telling everything that we're going to announce, like the new features that we're going to announce I/O. I hope you stay tuned, because we're going to be talking a lot about very exciting stuff. And I can see some people are posting comments in the chat, and let's see, where are you joining us from today? So I can see that Pratik from India, Kailas is from India as well, Dan, Matt Chow from Tennessee, Dan from Nepal, at the moment from Cambodia. Well, that's cool. A lot of people are joining us from Asia and also United States. So yeah, please post in the chat. I'm very glad to see you here watching us live. And I'm always because it's so boring, sometimes so boring just talking to the screen with this microphone. And you can see, oh, today I'm in a fancy studio in the San Francisco office. That's why I have this weird background here and not my usual bookshelf. I have a different camera, different microphone. And you might have noticed that the lights just turned off. I only have this front light here with me. That's why we're not in the dark, luckily. Okay, I have some people from Canada. Abhishek from Canada, Swandi from Indonesia. Sorry, I can't read this alphabet, but some people from Russia. Mubarak from Nigeria. Thanks for joining us. And let's move to the content then. So if you want to learn how to know how your passes are being used by your users, you can implement API callbacks, because whenever a user adds or removes a pass that you issue to them through the Google Wallet app, you can receive a notification. And the notification is done through API callbacks, which means that if you set up an HTTPS endpoint and you specify this particular endpoint in the class definition of your pass, we are going to send a post request to that particular endpoint, and we're going to provide you with information about, oh, this particular pass was added to a user's wallet, and this is the particular timestamp. Oh, this particular object was removed from a Google Wallet user's phone, and now it's and this is the particular timestamp. So based on this particular logic, you can be aware of, wow, how many people, who's using the passes that I'm sharing. So it's a good way for you to gather some analytics so you can input in your system and you can process them later. For us to be able to do that, first we need to create a pass. And as you might be used already, if you go here through the documentation, we're going to create, let me try to increase a bit here the font size. We're going to create an event ticket today. So I go through event ticket. And the particular topic that I will be discussing today, you can find here in the documentation if you go to the left side of the screen. And don't worry, we're talking about event tickets, but the feature that I'm explaining today applies to any other type of passes. So you can create callbacks for all of them, for loyalty cards, gift cards, offers, and generic passes, and anything that you create with the Google Wallet API, you can also use with API callbacks. Okay. And let's see, I can see some comments here. Yeah, some more people from India. Yeah, lots of people from India. Thank you so much for joining us. I guess it might be a little late for you, so I'm even happier that you're able to watch us. And people, so Kyrgyzstan, I hope I pronounced that correctly. If not, I'm sorry already. It's hard for me to pronounce some names here. Yeah, but so happy to see you joining us live as well. And talking about the documentation, let's see. It's here. Advanced usage. You open the menu, and we have a lot of different ones. We can see that we're always expanding the advanced features of the Google Wallet API. And the one we're going to be covering today is this one, add and delete callbacks. And let's see, I'm opening here. My internet gets slower because, of course, I'm doing a live stream, so it might lots of stuff happening at the same time. And with add and delete callbacks, as always, I would recommend you to go through the entire documentation because there are a lot of details that you can be aware and that we cannot explain in just like the few minutes that we have in this live stream. Or else people will just skip the video because it's so boring. I hope that's not the case. And if you go through the prerequisites, here I already mentioned, you need to set up an HTTPS endpoint. You need a web server with a SSL, which will accept post requests because the Google Wallet API is going to send you post requests with the information, and you have to get this particular URL that you set up, and you're going to add this information to the pass class definition. We're going to do all of this live today. And it's an optional step, but a highly recommended one. You can use the Google Think library to verify the digital signature of the message that we're sending. And why is that? Because maybe someone might create a bot and we'll be sending requests to the callback endpoint that you created, and you just lose the analytics that we're sending to you. So we recommend you to verify the digital signature because that's the way for you to be sure that you are receiving information from the Google Wallet API servers. Okay. So, and Think is available for multiple platforms and languages. I'm a Java developer, so I'm going to be using Java for the code. And that's the code that is available on the developer documentation website as well. Okay. Well, let's go through the code. And I can see here that Tanvir is from Bangladesh and Tech Patsala from India as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's move to the code. So I created a very small Java project that has only one particular endpoint. You can use any technology. If you're a Java developer just like myself, you can use just plain servlets. You can use Spring. You can use Java EE or Jakarta EE. I'm using Quarkus, but the only difference is how you set up the endpoint, because the real and actual code is the same for everyone. And what we're doing here, once I set up this post endpoint, you can see here in the left side of the screen, I created a server and I have a path slash callback. So whenever I receive a post request in the slash callback endpoint, we're going to be processing this, okay? And I just put 2 printlns here in my code. The first one, I'm going to show you the entire side message that you're receiving from Google, okay? This is the first print that we're going to see in the logs. And the second print is the one that is decoded and verified, because I'm using these methods here and these classes from the Think library, and you can just plainly copy paste them because it's always the same. And if you want to know what are these constants, are just some constants that I've put here in my code, so it would be more readable. Okay, but it's always the same. That's why they're the constants. And here, the only thing that is particular to you is the issuer ID, because you're going to be using your issuer ID number that you can find in the Google Wallet business console. But I'm assuming you're already issuing passes, so you know what is the issuer ID. Just in case you don't know, we have another live stream called What's in Your Google Wallet, and I explain the onboarding process, and you can start like to issue your very first passes for Google Wallet. And with these methods, we just verify the digital signature, and we get the serialized JSON message. And the second println is the one that I'm going to show you with just the plain message, without all the digital signature stuff. Okay, so that's basically what the code for the API callback does. Oh, should we do more? Of course. You should be verifying, oh, this is the object that is being added. So I'm going to go to my database and say, oh, this object was added. If you created a pass that can be shared across multiple users, you're going to increase the count. Oh, one user added, another user added, a third user added. So now I have like 100 users using this particular pass. So you will keep the count going up. Or you might have received a message saying, oh, this pass was deleted, this particular object was deleted. And you go to your database and say, oh, remove one. And that's how you know who's using when it's happening, because all the messages, they have a timestamp. So you know when you're receiving this particular information, and you can keep track on that. You can be aware of how many passes are being added to users' Google Wallets. You can be aware of when, and particularly these happen. So these are some kinds of analytics that you can produce once you start to store this particular data. Okay. So this is the code that I'm going to deploy to an endpoint. And I use the Google Cloud to be able to deploy. For me, the easiest way for me to deploy anything in the cloud is to create a container. So I just created a container. I published this to the artifact registry from Google Cloud, and I use Google Cloud Run to deploy. For me, it's the easiest and cheapest way to deploy, because you can always scale to 0 and not pay anything for that. So I just published the container, and I created a Cloud Run instance, and it's running. Okay, and that's what I'm going to show here. Here I have a Google Cloud console. I created a project, and the endpoint is available here. And don't even waste your time trying to take a look at that, because once you're able to type all of this, I'll probably have deleted already, because I don't want to pay for it after I show you this demo. Okay. So what else? Well, we just created an endpoint. It's live on the internet. Now we just need to create a pass and try to use it to see if we're really receiving the callback messages. And as usual, the easiest way for us to create a pass is to go here through the pass builder in the developer documentation. So I just clicked on the link of the pass builder. It shows us this very nice interface. I'm going to reduce the size just a bit so you can see the stuff happening on the right side of your screen. And the name of the event is Google Wallet API Callbacks. Okay, you can see the event, venue name, it's on YouTube. Okay, and the header is going to be track pass usage. Okay, and yes, I think we're good. We can keep the same images. This is not important for today. You might want to change the background color if you want. Let's see, let's get it lighter. So a bit more bluish here. And we're done. Right? Once we finish customizing the properties here, I go here to the JSON tab, I click on it, and I have the pass, the object definition here at the top, and the class definition here at the bottom, and that's all I need in the code that I usually use to create a pass for you. So I'm going to copy the class definition. I'm going to go back here to my code. I'm going to open my other projects. Okay. And this one in particular, I'm going to open the event ticket class. I'm going to paste the information. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to copy the object definition. And I'm going to go back here to my code, open the event ticket object definition, paste it again, and we should be done. Now I prepared a code here, some code. And in this code is just boilerplate code. I'm reading the JSON, updating some properties. For example, I have to set up my class ID. I'm updating the event date and time just to make sure it's in the future so it doesn't show up as expired in my phone. And if you're watching this video later, it might have expired already, like this particular data I'm showing here. Then I insert the class, then I'm going to create an object. I set up an object ID. I say that it's active. I insert it through the API. And here with these 3 lines of code, I just create the sign jot that I'm going to share with my project. Okay, so no big deal here. The only thing that I'm changing from the usual workflow for creating passes is that for this particular event ticket class, I'm going to add the callback property because I want to be notified anytime a pass is added or deleted from a user's Google Wallet. So I'm going to create event ticket class, set callback, options, and I'm going to create a new object here, new callback options, and say set URL. And the URL needs to be the string with the endpoint that you created. So I deployed that in the Google Cloud Run. So I'm going to go back here to my endpoint. I'm going to copy this information from the Google Cloud Console. But remember, probably is going to be anywhere else that you want to deploy. Going to be your custom domain or something like that. I'm just going to do, this is the server. And remember, the code that I created has a /callback endpoint. So that's what I'm typing right now. So callback, set URL, and that's it. We're done. We already have a callback. It's running. I already set the property here specifying that this is the endpoint that I want to be notified whenever something happens with this particular object, with objects of this class, to be more specific. I'm going to save the code. This is always a good thing because earlier this morning I was trying this code and I forgot to save the file. So it wasn't working. And what happened? Well, it's always a good idea for you to save the file before running it. And I've just saved it again. Let's see if it's working. Okay. So I'm going to go back here and open this endpoint. Yes, I have this big Add to Google Wallet button. I'm going to click on it. Here you can see the Add Ticket option, okay? You note that once I click on Add, it's going to be added automatically to my phone. So we're going to, because it's going to be added to my Google account whenever I add it here in the web interface in the desktop. So I'm going to click Add, and quickly, I'm going to move here to this other screen because on the right side of the screen now, I'm sharing my phone screens. And you notice that very soon I'll receive a notification. There it is. And my pass, my Google Wallet pass already showed up here. Cool. And I can open the pass and see that it is here, Google Wallet API callbacks. And very soon, and remember, it's not instantaneous. It takes, we use a best effort approach. So it might take some seconds, some minutes for you to receive the API callback notification, but it will show up in the logs of your server, because that's what the code that I did. So, and to be sure, I'm just going to refresh the logs here in the Google Cloud Console for Google Cloud Run, and you note that we already received the callback for the add ones. I know that the font size is too small. Don't worry, I'm going to zoom in the information. But if you take a look here, you see that I received two messages. One post said sign message, because that's the println that I had in my code. And the second one is the serialized message with the digital signature already verified. So let's go deeper into this one. Already opened. No, get back. Logs. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong tab. So I'm going to get, what's this one? The sign message. I'm going to expand. And you can see that you have a lot of the signature stuff, the key value. It's not very easy to read, right? Because it was not supposed to be human readable. It was supposed to be this thing. You should be sending it to the code, to the methods, to the library that parses and verifies the digital signature. And then the think library is going to spit you the clean message that we sent to you. So the second log that I have here, because I printed in my code, I printed the verified message, is this one. And let's expand here. If you look at the raw message, you can see, oh, it's a JSON stuff with information that I want to process. But if you go through the metadata here of the log, you'll be able to expand a bit more. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this text payload here from the logs, and I'm going to show you with a bigger font size because it's easier for us to understand what's happening. And I'm going to just copy paste this particular piece of text here, copying the right piece, and let me zoom out, and let's open my terminal. Once I'm going to use JQ to print the JSON content of what was in the log. Okay, so what is the information that we have in the message that we sent through the API callback? We have the class ID of the pass that was added to your user's Google Wallet. We have the object ID, which is this very big string here that I created for this demo. The event type, which is save, because a user saved this particular object to their Google Wallet. I have the time in milliseconds, which you can convert, like using any time library, because it's a Unix time. You can convert to an actual date and time that you can log to your server. Count. I've tried multiple different times, but count is always 1. Okay, so I don't know if there's a way for someone to add multiple passes at once with the same object ID at least, but I suppose it's only 1, and that's what I'm using because I've never seen a number greater than 1. And here we have the nonce. If you ever used message queue systems, if you ever used Kafka, if you ever been an enterprise developer, just like I did, you know that sometimes when you receive messages, those messages can be duplicated. And it can happen here too. Sometimes we have no guarantee. You might receive the same message twice. And how do you know? How can you make a proper counting if the messages can be duplicated? So that's why in every message we use this nonce property. With the nonce property, you are able to detect, oh, did I already process this message or not? Because what you're going to do, for every message that you receive, you're going to save this particular message to your database and say, oh, this message was processed. And you're going to create an idempotent filter in the input of your system that is going to check, is this message already processed in my database? If yes, you just ignore because it's a duplicate. If not, then you're going to process this message. That's why when you're dealing with messaging systems, you always have to send a nonce header or a nonce property in your message. Okay, That's why we use this to remove duplicates in the processing. Okay. Let's see if we have anyone else joining us here. We have some folks from Sri Lanka. Well, thanks for joining us. And I hope you're enjoying our content. And I can see a comment here from Mick saying, why in Java? Yeah, I know. It's complicated to say that you're a Java developer these days, but I am. I'm a Java developer. I'm a Java champion. I love Java. I've been doing Java since 1996. So it has been quite a while. But I think Java is great. But of course, other languages and platforms are great too. So I don't judge. If you want to do that in Python, we had code samples in Python. If you want to do that in JavaScript, we have that as well. And actually, Google Wallet has client libraries for 10 different platforms and languages. So you can choose your favorite one. You don't have to use Java. You can use any one for that, okay? So, yes, so someone says Python. Yes, we support Python. We support, very likely support your favorite language platform with the Google Wallet client libraries. So we don't judge. It works. The important thing is that you're being able to use the Google Wallet API to issue passes to your users so they can be happy, so you can be happy as well. That's why we create these nice features for the Google Wallet API. So now let's take a look at, this was the save message. Okay, let's take a look at what happens when a user deletes their pass. So I'm going to go back here to this particular screen. And I'm going to open my phone. And if I'm lucky enough, yes, here. So now I'm going to remove. Okay, I'm going to remove this pass from my phone. I'm going to go here in the upper corner, upper right corner. I'm going to scroll here to the bottom and tap on remove. So I remove from wallet. Yes, remove. So it was just removed from my wallet. I don't have this pass anymore. And very soon, I'll be able to see that callback hitting my server in the Google Wallet console, Google Cloud console. So let's make sure. I'm going to refresh here the screen because sometimes it's faster. And yeah, these are the last ones, the signed message and the serialized message. I'm going to zoom here again, sign and serialized. And let's open the last one because that's probably the delete one. I'm going to open here. Okay, same thing. I'm going to scroll down. And it has a text payload with the information. I'm going to copy this information and show you in a bigger font size again to make it easier for us. Okay, I'm going to open this one, copy this information, and I'm going to go here. Okay, so now I'm going to echo here. So this is the second message that I received from the callback. And the difference here is that it's the same class ID that we used in the past because we added and deleted the same pass. It's the same object ID that we used before. And the most important difference here is that the first event was a save event. And the second one is a delete event, which means that it was removed. And the expiration time here is like, well, this one was happened later because first the user added it. And by the way, we're not specifying who was the user that added or deleted the pass. You know that particular pass object was added and removed. You don't know from who or from where, but you have the timestamp. So you know that which one happened first. You have the count, and we have the nonce again. For each different message, you have a different nonce to know if you already processed the message or not. Cool? So, and that's it. That's how you use API callbacks. You just set up an HTTPS endpoint. You make it ready to process and receive the messages. We're doing the best practice here, which is to verify the digital signature. But just in case you want to process the raw data, you're free to do so. just be aware that you might have an attack and you might be receiving like counterfeit information in case you don't verify the digital signature. It's up to you to assess the risk. I recommend you to do the right way, which is to verify the digital signature, and you're done. If we go back here to the code, this is the single property that I changed. I just said get the class, set callback options, and I set up the URL, which is this one. And once you did that, you're done. We're good to go. Okay. And what else? Well, let me see if we have any questions from you that is watching, who is watching us live. I can see that Al Haji from Sierra Leone is watching us live as well. Thank you for joining us. And let's see what questions do we have here. Here, Nan is asking us, what kind of usage events can be tracked with the Google Wallet API callbacks? Well, Nan, I've shown you we have two different event types with the Google Wallet API callbacks. You have the save event, which means that a user saved that particular object to their Google Wallet, and you have the delete event, which means that the user removed that particular object ID from their wallet. So these are the two types of events that we have. So you can you can increase the amount of passes saved, or you can decrease. And you can say, oh, this particular pass is saved. It is available in someone's wallet. And when you delete, it's not available anymore. What else? Sayantan is asking, hi, what are the authorization apart from digital signature we can impose from the wallet side? Yeah, I'm not sure I understand correctly the question, but at least from the callbacks, because you're just creating a public endpoint that we're going to send the post request to. We don't expect any kind of authorization, either from your side or from the wallet's API side. We're going to send it right away. And the only thing that we're doing here is that we're signing the messages with the Google public keys, so you can verify that it was issued by the Google Wallet API servers. So you can be certain that it is a legitimate post request to your server. That's all what we're doing. But we're talking about the Google Wallet for you to be able to create the passes, so you can create the class, the object, and share the add to Google Wallet links to your users. Then we have an authorization step, which is covered in the onboarding process. And we have another video on YouTube covering it as well. Okay. Let's see if we have something else. I can see people saying thank you, hello. Yeah. What else? Yeah, very good. Yeah, I'm very happy to see that a lot of people are watching us live, providing some comments, some questions, very interesting ones. And I think we're done for today. Yeah, folks, it's always such a great pleasure for me to be here with you, sharing some great stuff about Google Wallet. It's always nice to see your comments, your questions in the live stream. And if you're watching the recording, thank you so much for watching what we're sharing. And stay tuned, because maybe in the next one, you'll be able to join us live. If you go to developer.google.com/wallet/events, you'll be able to see all our past events and upcoming events, both live here on YouTube or also in person. So we have some in-person events coming in some countries, in some continents in the upcoming months. So stay tuned. Maybe I'll be able to meet you in person, and we'll be able to share some coffee while talking about all the great things that the Google Wallet team is doing for you developers. Okay. And thank you so much for joining us. Hope to see you soon in another live stream or in person. Take care. See you soon. Bye.